So my name is Christine. I know the invite says the Zoom account says Anita Croce, and that's one of the placement staff here, and I'm just using her account. But my name is Christine Lee. I'm the placement team leader at ACAP. And in the past few months, I've been working on Sonia, which is the student placement database which students use and our agency supervisors use. We've had it for just over a year now, and when we first had it, we implemented it out to students and their agency supervisors. Then we rolled it out to our mid-placement reviewers, and now the final part is to roll it out to all of you, our clinical supervisors. So I'll just go and share my screen so you can see what Sonia looks like. Whoops. Okay, now can everyone see the screen where it says Welcome to Sonia Online?
Yep.
So this is the home page of Sonia, and this is the same homepage for everyone, for all of our students, agency supervisors and mid-placement reviewers. There will be another area there for clinical supervisors. We're developing user guides now as we speak, and they'll all be up there as of next week. So on Monday, an email will be sent out to all clinical supervisors with a link to Sonia, as well as your username and your password. Your username will be your email address, and the password will be in the email there. Once you've got that, you just click on the link. Over here, we've got some roles. We've got student, agency, and ACAP staff. ACAP staff is for clinical supervisors and mid-placement reviewers. So you would select in ACAP staff, put in your email address, and your password, which will all be in the email, and then you just sign in. So once you've signed in, it will refresh again. You see the same information, but here you'll notice you've got other different tabs available on the top there. On the right-hand side, we've got our log out button as well as our settings button. And in this area is where you would change your password, or if you want to upload a picture or change the culture or anything like that, that can all be done here. And I will be asking everyone to change their password as soon as they log in, just because we do have students' criminal record checks and sensitive information like that in the system. So once you've done that, then you can browse through all the tabs, and I'll go through a little bit, I'll go through each one with you today. So again, we've got the home page, that's the first one there. Then we have our students tab. And in here you will have all of your students who've enrolled into your supervision class. At the moment for today, I've only got the 5 students, but if you've got 3 or 4 classes, they will all show up in this one space here. You'll have their student ID, their name, their email address, the agency that they're doing their placement with, the dates of their placement, the status of the placement. So if it's been cancelled, or if they've finished it, or whatever the case may be, that will show here. This area will show you if it's a graduate diploma student, or Bachelor of Counselling, or Master's student. And then over here we've got their agency supervisors, so the name of the supervisor in their agency. You can view the student's details over here on the view button, and this just opens up a little bit more information about the student, their email address, phone numbers, and then here we've got their documents. All students will be asked to upload their police check in Sonia, and this is so their agencies can see it, as well as ACAP staff. We'll have their resume, and every now and again the students will upload other documents like training certificates or statement of attainments, other things they may think is relevant to placement. The information down here, we're not using it at the moment, so it's really irrelevant. I'm trying to ask the developers if we can hide that section, because at the moment it's not used. So that's the Students tab. The next tab we have is Placements. And this page may look quite messy or a lot to you, but the reason why it looks like that is because we've got a number of students in this test area. But basically each student has one of these entries here. And because I've attached 5 students, that's gone in 5 separate times. And it's really information for the student. So for example, when a student logs in, they click on details just for their one group. And once it loads, it will just show step-by-step instructions of what they need to do throughout their placement. So the students will only see one of these. And I guess for clinical supervisors, it's some information you might find useful, some you might already know about, but it's really just all the information they need for their placement. We've got our policies, we've got step 1, doing their experience log, when it's due, how to record their hours, information about their learning contract, again, due dates, the purpose, their mid-placement review, supervision log, final placement report, and then finally their evaluation. So it's really information that we've written for the students to let them know what they need to do and how to do it. The next tab we have is Forms, and I guess this is the one tab where a lot of the clinical supervisors will work from, because all of the forms will be in Sonia. Every single form there is available in this tab here. So once you click on it, you'll see a list of forms, and you can sort it by the name of the form. So that will sort in alphabetical order. You can sort it by the name of the student, and that will then sort. You can sort it by dates, due dates, and whether it's completed. And completed means whether you've actioned it or approved it or submitted it or not. So one of the first forms students submit is the learning contract. Previously, they've uploaded that into, and I guess for the students' experience, that didn't make sense to them because they completed it in Sonia, which was an ACAP system, and then they had to save and go and upload it into another ACAP system. So now in Sonia, once they submit, it's available for the agency supervisor to log in and approve it. And once that's done, clinical supervisors then go in and can see it there. So I'll just open up one for you to see. It hasn't been completed yet, but this is what it looks like. So the student would have completed their student name, student number, their course, all of those details there, the learning goals, learning tasks, method of assessment, all of those details down there, and then they would have submitted. Once they submit, you can't see it now because it hasn't been submitted, but it would say here, form submitted by student's name, the date it was done, and the time it was done. Same with agency supervisor's approval. Down here would also have submitted by the agency supervisor's name, the date and the time. And then finally, we've got clinical supervisors. And for supervisors, you can review and edit any of the details if you like before approving. If you're fine with everything that's in there, you can just select approve, or if you want to evaluate a learning goal or something with a student, you can do that and then approve. So that is the learning contract.
Can I come in with a question there, Christine?
Yep.
Once the supervisors have approved it, do they need to do anything in the grade book in Moodle?
No.
Okay, so those columns are going to come out of the gradebook?
Yeah, that's correct.
Thank you.
Yeah. So it'll all be done in Sonia. Sorry?
Will that be the same with the mid-placement review booking form and the mid-placement review itself?
Yes. Yes,
Okay.
it'll all come out of the gradebook and just in Sonia. Yep. So the completed column, once you've submitted, will change. The completed mind showing your buttons, and so in the learning contract you have that one button at the bottom down there. For completed all, there's 4, I guess, stakeholders who need to action the button. So the first is the student. We have one that we do, and it's hidden from everyone, and it's just an indicator for us to email their agency supervisors, letting them know the students submitted this, can they go in and approve? So that is their number 2. Number 3 is the agency supervisor approving it, and number 4 is yourself, clinical supervisors. So that's the learning contract, and next we have mid-placement review. I'll just open up the Bachelor of Counselling one because it's the most recent one we've worked on. So again, with the mid-placement review, this again would have been completed by the student. Section B here is for mid-placement reviewers to complete. So once they've conducted the review, they fill this all out. And then normally once it's all done, they upload it into the class base, but now it will be available in here. And down here we've got 2 action buttons because they upload it in CPS 1 and CPS 2. And so we've got one here for CPS 1 supervisor review. And so for supervisors, just read through everything, and then once done, just select that supervisor review. The following term, CPS 2 supervisors, they do the same thing there. And again, as Paul asked before, yes, this won't go into the gradebook, only in Sonia. The final form we have is the clinical supervision log, which basically looks the same as what students have currently been doing. So they put in all their details again. They'll put in their dates and their hours, the total hours, total counselling hours. The student would submit, and then at the end of term, clinical supervisors are to approve. And with this form, again, once the students enter these details in, you can review and edit if needed before approving. So they are the 3 forms that clinical supervisors have access to and need to, I guess, interact with in the form section. I guess one other thing to show you is once the forms are completed, as in 4 out of 4 or 2 out of 2, they are hidden from this page. So as the terms go by, the forms are hidden, and if you ever needed to go back to a previous term or anything like that to look at something that's done last term or the term before, you can untick this box, Hide Completed Mine, and it will show you all the forms that have been completed. For this test student, I've been playing around and there's things in there, and so that's why it loaded up more forms.
Christine, where's that button? I missed that.
It's just on the bottom right-hand side here, Hide Completed Mine. Can you see that down here?
Your window.
Due date, I can see.
At the top of that, Sylvia. The window where you can see Christine and Roman and everyone, that may be hovering over. So if you just drag the window.
Oh, yeah. Thank you.
We have the same issue.
Got it.
Yeah, so that there's 2 buttons there, Hide Completed Placement Groups.
Yeah.
And that group refers to this column here, Placement Group. Once students have a placement, they're added into a group, and it's often Student Placement Group, BCown, or GDC or Masters, that's what those groups refer to. But I think the more relevant thing or the more useful thing for clinical supervisors would be that button down here, hide completed mine.
Yeah.
And you'll see their mid-placement reviewer students, and some of our clinical supervisors are also mid-placement reviewers, and the section below will be relevant to them. And that's why that's there. So their forms will show there as well. But if you're not also a mid-placement reviewer, then that will always just remain blank. You can just disregard that. Okay. So that's the forms. Now the next tab up here is My Details. So in here there's a lot of fields there, and some of it is relevant, some of it may not be. So firstly it'll just have your name and details like that. For this person I've just had test clinical supervisor, but it'll have your name and your details in there. Same thing with the contact details. Now students can see the contact details in here, and so the setting I've put up is only your email address, your ACAP email address will be visible to your supervisees. So just so you know, if you put in your phone number or anything like that in this section, the students will be able to see it.
So Christine, do we fill this out ourselves, or do you fill that out for us?
We just have your email address in there. We don't, so you don't need to do that unless you want students to have access to your Skype or your mobile phone number or your work phone. Then you can put those details in there, but you don't have to.
But all like the like name and everything, you put that in, or do we need to put that in?
Yeah, no, when you get your account, your name and details will already be in there. Yeah.
All right.
We've got next of kin details, and this section is more relevant for students because when they're on placement, supervisors, agencies need to know who their next of kin are. So that's why that field is there. But for clinical supervisors, you don't need that to fill that detail in at all. So that will be blank. Availability, again, this is not relevant for clinical supervisors, so you can leave that blank. I guess unless you want to put in there that you are available from 3 to 4 for any questions at a certain week or something like that, but you don't have to put anything in there at all. Same with comments. If there's anything you want to add there, you can. If not, that's fine. And then there's just this other position here. We use this to, I guess, indicate which staff are mid-placement reviewers and which ones are clinical supervisors. So this section's not relevant for clinical supervisors as well. And then the same for the street address. And again, students can see that information, so we don't have your address details in here at all. The tab is there, My Details, but really it would only have your email address, your first name and your last name, and that's all it will have. The History tab. This section is basically like a reporting tool. If you wanted to have a look at all the students you've ever supervised this term or in the last year or in the last 5 years, you can do that here. You can select the dates from this date to that date and go view. You can do your student list and do view, and it will come up with a list of all the students you've ever supervised. It'll have their placement dates, the agency supervisor's name, that type of thing. Now over to documents. We don't have any documents or anything like that here. I guess if we could have put up things like policies and other information like that, but we found because we've got students in different courses, it made more sense to have it in the placements section before, so And I'll just go back to that quickly. So in that details area, as I mentioned before, whatever course they're in, all of their information is listed in there. Whereas this document section is universal and all students see it, and that's why we don't have anything in there. Agency submission. This is something Planet have included, but we don't need that again. It's for supervisors or students to suggest agencies to us. So they might submit a new agency and say they know of so-and-so and they're wanting us to look into it. But we have a different process for that, and the students know they are to contact their placement coordinators if they had an agency in mind they wanted us to explore. So in the next couple of weeks, we've asked Planet to hide that tab as well as the documents tab because we're not using that. And then finally, calendar. So in the calendar area, it will only list the weeks of term, so week 1, week 2, week 3, and so on. If there's any events on, like if we have an expo or if we have student information sessions or anything like that, that will go here. We're also exploring the idea of putting in when learning contracts are due by, when mid-placement reviews are due by, that type of information. So hopefully that will be ready in time for term 2. And so, but at the moment, it will just have the weeks for now. And that comes to the end of the tabs there. Any questions or anything from anyone? No? So I've just quickly click back to the forms tab because I'm not sure if I mentioned it before, but there is a due date column, and these due dates are based on term dates. So for example, the learning contract, I've got 30th of May because the students should have done that prior to their first session. Mid-placement reviews 26th of August, and again because students need to have submitted that by the end of week 12, so that's what those due dates refer to. And I think that's it. Any questions, any feedback? We're always working on improving, Sonia, so if you have any suggestions, any ideas, maybe not now.
I think this is going to make the end of term hugely easier, Christine, because so much of that stuff will just automatically happen without supervisors having to come back into the grade book and check off multiple forms. So I'm really happy to see this. Yeah, that's good. We're all excited about it as well for us staff, you know, what things we experience, and same with the students. They've had so much frustration with having to submit the forms here and then save it as a PDF document and then upload it elsewhere. So now everything is in one place. All placement stakeholders, students, supervisors, reviewers, all are in the one system. And so it's a great change. But Sonia's quite new, like we were always developing it, and so if you come across anything that's not working or you think could be done better, feel free to call me or send me an email. I think in my email had my phone number and my email address, so yes, feel free to call me. So if there's no other questions, I think that's it for now. Thank you for your time.
Great. Thank you.
So yeah, you'll be receiving the emails next week on Monday with the login, and you can go in and have a browse.
Excellent.
Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you, everyone. Thanks. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi, Danielle. Good.